As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the deserted street, Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. She quickened her pace, clutching her coat tightly around her frame as she navigated through the dimly lit alleyway. Just as she reached the end of the alley, a figure emerged from the shadows, blocking her path. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she recognized the face of the man who had haunted her dreams for years. It was him, the man who had broken her heart and left her shattered. "Sarah," he whispered, his voice sending chills down her spine. "I've been looking for you." His eyes bore into hers, filled with an intensity that made her tremble. "Why now?" Sarah's voice wavered, a mixture of anger and fear bubbling inside her. "I made a mistake, Sarah. I never should have left you," he pleaded, his words hanging in the cold night air. Torn between the memories of their love and the pain of his betrayal, Sarah felt her resolve crumbling. How could she resist the man who had consumed her thoughts for so long? How could she ignore the flutter of hope in her heart at the prospect of a second chance? But deep down, she knew she couldn't trust him again. The wounds he had inflicted were still raw, the scars too deep to heal with a simple apology. With a steely determination, Sarah locked eyes with him and declared, "It's too late. You had your chance, and you let it slip away. I won't make the same mistake twice." And with that, she turned on her heel and walked away, leaving him standing in the shadows, his words echoing in the empty alley. Sarah knew it wouldn't be easy to walk away from the man who had once held her heart in his hands, but she also knew that she deserved better than someone who only saw her worth after losing her. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the rolling hills, Emily stood on the edge of the cliff, the wind whipping through her hair. She closed her eyes, letting the sound of crashing waves below fill her senses. Memories flooded her mind, of laughter shared with her best friend Sarah, of dreams they once dared to dream together. But now, Sarah was gone. A single tear slipped down Emily's cheek as she clutched the letter in her hand. The letter that had shattered her world into a million pieces. The letter that told her the truth about what had really happened to Sarah that fateful night. She unfolded the paper, reading the words for the 100th time, each syllable cutting deeper than the last. Sarah's words echoed in her mind, accusing and haunting. How could Sarah have kept such a secret from her? How could she have hidden the pain and fear behind that infectious smile? A sudden gust of wind made Emily stagger, and she felt a strong hand grab her arm, steadying her. She looked up into the eyes of the man she had once trusted with her heart, Sarah's boyfriend, Mark. The man who had held Sarah in his arms that night, the man who had sworn to protect her. Mark's eyes were filled with regret and sorrow, mirroring the turmoil in Emily's heart. Without a word, he handed her a crumpled piece of paper. Another letter. This time, from Sarah. As Emily read the shaky handwriting, her heart clenched with pain and understanding. Sarah's words painted a picture of a different reality, a reality filled with secrets and betrayals. A reality where the lines between love and loyalty blurred until they were indistinguishable. Emily felt a mix of emotions swirling within her, anger at Sarah for keeping the truth hidden, guilt for not seeing the signs, and sorrow for the loss of a friendship that had once felt unbreakable. But beneath it all, a spark of determination ignited within her. She would uncover the truth. She would unravel the mystery of Sarah's death, no matter the cost. With a resolute look in her eyes, Emily turned to Mark, her voice steady and firm. "We need to find out what really happened that night, together." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows across the old, decrepit mansion, Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. She wondered if it was just the chill in the air or something more sinister at play. She clutched the old photo of her grandparents that she had found hidden away in a dusty attic, the key to unlocking the secrets of her family's past. Lost in thought, Emma barely noticed the faint sound of footsteps creeping up behind her. Before she could react, a hand covered her mouth and a voice whispered in her ear, "You shouldn't be here, Emma." Emma's heart pounded in fear as she recognized the voice of her estranged cousin, Daniel. He had always been the black sheep of the family, rumored to have dabbled in dark magic and forbidden rituals. She struggled against his grasp, but his hold was firm. "Daniel, what are you doing?" she managed to gasp out. He leaned in close, his breath hot against her ear. "I'm trying to protect you, Emma. There are things in this house that you don't understand, dark forces that have been unleashed." Emma's mind raced as she tried to make sense of his cryptic words. Before she could respond, the sound of creaking floorboards echoed through the hallway, and they both froze in place. A figure emerged from the darkness, cloaked in shadows and emanating a sense of malevolence. Emma's blood ran cold as she recognized the twisted features of her long-dead great-grandmother, a woman rumored to have made a deal with the devil himself. "You have no power here, Daniel," the ghostly figure hissed, her voice sending chills down Emma's spine. Daniel's grip on Emma tightened, his eyes filled with fear and desperation. "We need to leave now," he whispered urgently. But before they could make their escape, the ghostly figure raised a spectral hand, and a blast of dark energy sent them both flying across the room. Emma's head spun as she struggled to regain her senses, her vision swimming with shadows and shapes that seemed to dance in the dim light. As she tried to stand, she felt a hand on her shoulder, a presence that radiated warmth and light. With a start, she realized it was the ghost of her grandmother, a figure bathed in a soft glow that pushed back the darkness. "Emma, you have the power to stop this," her grandmother's voice rang out, filled with love and determination. "You are the key to breaking the curse that has plagued our family for generations." As the sun set on the horizon, casting a golden hue over the rolling hills, Eva stood at the edge of the cliff, the wind whipping her hair across her face. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, feeling a mix of fear and excitement coursing through her veins. Just as she was about to take a step forward, a voice called out from behind her. "Eva! Wait!" It was Alex, her best friend and confidant, running towards her with a look of desperation in his eyes. "Eva, please don't do this," Alex pleaded, his voice filled with urgency. "I know things have been tough, but suicide is not the answer. Please, talk to me. I'm here for you." Tears welled up in Eva's eyes as she turned to face Alex, her heart aching at the thought of the pain she was causing him. She had kept her struggles hidden for so long, putting on a brave face for the world, but Alex saw through her facade, always standing by her side through thick and thin. I can't do this anymore, Alex," Eva choked out, her voice trembling. "I'm tired of pretending that everything is okay when it's not. I feel so lost and broken inside." Alex took Eva's hands in his gaze unwavering. "You're not alone, Eva. I'm here for you, and I always will be. We'll get through this together, I promise." Eva looked into Alex's eyes, seeing the unspoken love and support shining through. In that moment, a flicker of hope ignited within her, a glimmer of light in the darkness that had consumed her for so long. "I'm scared, Alex," Eva whispered, her voice barely a murmur. "I don't know if I have the strength to keep fighting." Alex wrapped his arms around Eva, holding her close as the tears flowed freely down her cheeks. "You are stronger than you think, Eva, and you are not alone in this battle. Lean on me, lean on our friendship. We'll face this storm together." With a heavy heart but a newfound determination, Eva took a step back from the edge of the cliff, her hand tightly gripping Alex's. The setting sun painted the sky in a kaleidoscope of colors, a symbol of hope and renewal. And as they walked away, hand in hand, Eva knew that no matter how dark the road ahead may seem, she had found a beacon of light in the unwavering love of her best friend. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the rolling fields, Sarah stood at the edge of the cliff, her heart pounding in her chest. She took a deep breath, feeling the salty sea breeze ruffle her hair as she prepared herself for what she was about to do. She closed her eyes and thought about everything that had led her to this moment. The sudden loss of her job, the crumbling of her marriage, the feeling of being adrift in a world that had once felt so familiar. And then she remembered the letter that had arrived that morning, the one that had changed everything. Trembling, she opened her eyes and looked down at the crashing waves far below. She could hear the echoes of her past, the voices that had told her she wasn't good enough, that she didn't belong. But in that moment, something inside her shifted. With a newfound determination coursing through her veins, Sarah took a step forward, feeling the solid ground beneath her feet. She thought about all the times she had let fear hold her back, all the moments she had doubted herself, but not this time. As she reached the edge of the cliff, a surge of adrenaline filled her, propelling her forward into the unknown. The wind whipped past her, lifting her spirits higher and higher as she soared through the air. For a brief moment, she felt weightless, untethered from the burdens that had held her down for so long. And then, as she hurtled towards the water below, she felt a sense of freedom wash over her, more powerful than anything she had ever known. The impact was sudden and jarring, the cool embrace of the ocean enveloping her as she plunged beneath the surface. But instead of fear, she felt a sense of euphoria, a rush of exhilaration unlike anything she had experienced before. As she kicked her way to the surface, gasping for breath, Sarah knew that this was only the beginning. With each stroke, each heartbeat, she felt herself becoming stronger, more resilient. And as she emerged from the water, the setting sun casting a golden glow over the horizon, she knew that she had finally found her true purpose. She was no longer bound by the limitations of her past, but free to forge a new path, one filled with endless possibilities and boundless potential. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the sleepy town, Mia stood at the edge of the cliff, overlooking the vast ocean. The salty breeze tousled her hair as she closed her eyes, trying to calm the storm of emotions raging inside her. She couldn't believe what she had just discovered, the truth about her past that had been hidden from her for so long. Her heart ached with betrayal, but underneath the pain, a fierce determination stirred. Mia clenched her fists, her resolve hardening like steel. She would not let this revelation break her. She would rise from the ashes of deception and carve her own path, no matter how difficult it may be. In the distance, the sound of crashing waves echoed against the rocks, a reminder of the raw power of the ocean. Mia drew strength from the tumultuous beauty surrounding her, letting it fuel her determination to uncover the secrets that had been kept from her. With a deep breath, Mia turned away from the cliff and headed back towards town. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, but she was ready to face whatever challenges lay in her path. As she walked, a single thought burned in her mind like a guiding light. She was no longer the naive girl she once was. She was a warrior, fueled by the fire of truth and ready to fight for her destiny. As the storm raged outside, Sarah paced back and forth in the dimly lit living room. Her heart was heavy with guilt and regret. She had made a choice, a selfish one, and now she had to face the consequences. She could still hear his words echoing in her mind, the hurt and betrayal clear in his eyes. She had broken his trust, shattered their bond in an instant. Tears streamed down her face as she replayed the moment over and over again. A loud knock on the door startled her, causing her to freeze in place. She hesitated for a moment before making her way to the door. With trembling hands, she turned the doorknob and came face to face with him. His eyes, once filled with pain, now held a glimmer of hope. "I'm so sorry," she choked out, her voice barely above a whisper. He stood there in silence, studying her intensely. The tension in the air was palpable as they both struggled to find the right words to say. Finally, he spoke, his voice soft but firm. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Sarah, but I want to try." Relief washed over her as she felt a glimmer of hope in her heart. They stood there facing each other, the storm still raging outside. But in that moment, in the midst of chaos and uncertainty, they found a sliver of peace. As they embraced, the weight of the world seemed to lift off their shoulders. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside, they found solace in each other's arms. Little did they know, this would be just the calm before the next storm, one that would test their love and commitment to each other in ways they could never have imagined. The storm raged on outside, mirroring the turmoil within Emily's heart. She paced back and forth in the dimly lit room, her mind a tangled mess of fear and uncertainty. Her mother's words echoed in her ears, urging her to stay and fight for what she believed in. But at what cost? Suddenly, a loud knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Emily's heart leaped into her throat as she cautiously approached the entrance. As she cracked the door open, a familiar face greeted her. Thomas, her childhood friend and confidant. "Emily, we need to talk," Thomas said urgently, his eyes filled with a mixture of concern and determination. Taking a deep breath, Emily stood aside to let him in. She knew that Thomas had always been a beacon of reason in her life, a voice of clarity in times of confusion. As he settled into the chair opposite her, she found herself pouring out the jumble of emotions that had been consuming her. "I don't know what to do, Thomas," Emily confessed, her voice trembling with emotion. "I feel torn between my duty to my family and my own desires. Can I really turn my back on everything I've ever known?" Thomas listened intently, his gaze unwavering as he absorbed every word she spoke. And then, with a solemn expression, he spoke in a tone that brooked no argument. "Emily, I understand your predicament, but you can't let fear dictate your choices. Sometimes, the hardest decisions lead to the greatest rewards. Trust in yourself and follow your heart, no matter how daunting the path may seem." His words struck a chord within her, stirring a newfound resolve in Emily's soul. Perhaps it was time to stop running from her destiny and face it head-on. With a determined glint in her eyes, she rose to her feet, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. As the storm outside began to subside, Emily felt a sense of calm wash over her. She knew that the coming days would be fraught with challenges and sacrifices, but she was no longer alone in facing them. With Thomas by her side, she felt an unspoken strength that would carry her through the darkest of times. Together, they stepped out into the night, ready to confront their fate with unwavering courage and unwavering hope. As the storm raged outside, Vanessa's heart pounded against her chest. She couldn't believe what she had just discovered, the truth behind her father's mysterious disappearance. The incriminating evidence in front of her left no room for doubt. Tears streamed down her face as memories flooded back. Her father's warm laughter, his loving hugs, and the way he always made her feel safe. But now, all she felt was betrayal and anger. How could he have done this to their family? Her hands shook as she picked up the phone to call her mother. The words stuck in her throat as she tried to find the right way to break the news. She knew this revelation would shatter her mother's world, just as it had shattered her own. When her mother arrived, the air in the room grew heavy with unspoken words. Vanessa watched as her mother's eyes flickered over the evidence on the table, the truth dawning on her face. For a moment there was silence, broken only by the sound of the raging storm outside. And then her mother spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "I always suspected something was off, but I never imagined." Her words trailed off, lost in the weight of the betrayal they both felt. The storm outside mirrored the tempest raging within Vanessa's heart. How could she reconcile the loving father she had known with the man who had deceived them all? The truth gnawed at her, a bitter pill she couldn't swallow. But amidst the chaos and confusion, a small voice inside her whispered a reminder of the love her father had shown her throughout the years. Was it possible that there was more to this story than met the eye? Vanessa knew she had to confront her father, to dig deeper and uncover the secrets he had kept hidden for so long. With a newfound resolve, she wiped away her tears and steeled herself for the confrontation that lay ahead. The storm may have been raging outside, but the storm within her was just beginning to brew. As she stood on the edge of the cliff, the wind whipping through her hair and tears streaming down her face, she felt a surge of desperation wash over her. The weight of her past mistakes and the pain she had caused others threatened to consume her. But deep down, a flicker of hope remained. Her heart pounded in her chest as she glanced back at the chaos she had left behind. The lies, the betrayal, the hurt, it all seemed insurmountable. Would she ever be able to make amends? Could she find a way to forgive herself? In that moment, a voice called out to her from the depths of her soul. It was a voice she had long ignored, drowned out by fear and guilt. But now it spoke with clarity and purpose, urging her to let go of her past and embrace the possibility of a brighter future. With a newfound resolve, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. In that instant, she made a choice to let go of the heavy burden she had been carrying for so long. With a final sob, she released the weight of her guilt and shame, allowing it to be carried away by the wind. As she opened her eyes, a sense of peace washed over her. The world seemed to shimmer with new possibilities, and she knew that the journey ahead would not be easy, but it was one she was willing to take. With a determined step forward, she began to walk away from the edge, leaving behind the darkness of her past and stepping into the light of a newfound redemption. And as she walked away, the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow on the path ahead. The winds of change whispered through the trees, carrying with them the promise of a fresh start. She knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and hardships, but she also knew that she was not alone. For deep within her, she carried the strength and resilience of a woman who had faced her demons and emerged stronger on the other side. And with each step she took, she felt a glimmer of hope grow within her, a hope that one day she would find the forgiveness and peace she had been searching for all along.